Have you ever wondered why an ancient Hebrew word, pasak, meaning to protect, like a mother bird shielding her chicks, became the heart of one of humanity's most enduring festivals? Passover, or Pesach, is not just a story of escape from slavery but a radiant symbol of freedom, hope, and divine love standing between life and death. But what compels millions of people, from humble homes in Jerusalem to bustling cities worldwide, to gather every spring and relive this story? Join us as we uncover the profound meaning of Passover and the reasons it's celebrated without fail, with a surprising fact that will make you see this festival in a whole new light. The meaning of Passover: freedom, protection, and purification. Picture a dark night, when death silently creeps through every street, carrying unrelenting judgment. But in some homes, there's a miraculous sign: the blood of a spotless lamb smeared on the doorframe, and death halts, daring not to cross. This is the defining moment of Passover, recorded in the book of Exodus, a story not just of survival but of the profound meaning of freedom, protection, and purification. In ancient Egypt, the Israelites lived under brutal slavery. Pharaoh, in a fit of tyrannical rage, ordered every newborn Hebrew boy to be thrown into the Nile River, a decree threatening to erase an entire people. God sent Moses to confront Pharaoh, but he stubbornly refused to free the people. 10 plagues struck Egypt, each a blow to Pharaoh's false power. The final plague was the most devastating. The firstborn son of every Egyptian household would be taken, a judgment mirroring Pharaoh's own murderous evil. But God provided a way out for his people. They were instructed to choose a flawless lamb, sacrifice it, and smear its blood on their doorframes. On that fateful night, as the angel of death passed through Egypt, the homes marked with blood were, Pesach, protected, like a mother bird shielding her nest, as the prophet Isaiah described, Isaiah 31 verse 5. The Hebrew word, Pesach, doesn't just mean Passover, as many translations suggest, but carries the sense of protect or shield. The act of smearing the lamb's blood was not merely a ritual but a declaration of faith, a purification of the home from Pharaoh's evil. The lamb's blood became a sign of life, separating the Israelites from death and oppression. Passover, therefore, is a symbol of divine love, willing to stand in harm's way to save those who belong to him. The meaning of Passover extends far beyond its historical event. It touches humanity's deepest questions. How do we overcome the darkness of oppression? What is true freedom? In the Bible, freedom is not just release from physical chains but liberation of the soul from fear and sin. The Passover lamb, with its sacrifice, becomes a foreshadowing image in many traditions. For example, in Judaism, it recalls God's faithfulness. In Christianity, it points to Jesus, called the Lamb of God. Passover also carries psychological significance. Each of us has our own Egypts, fears, habits, or constraints, and Passover is an invitation to step through them toward the light of freedom. Moreover, Passover is a story of justice. Pharaoh, with his crimes, faced consequences, but the Israelites were protected through faith and obedience. This reflects a theological principle: justice and mercy go hand in hand. Passover not only saved the Israelites but served as a warning that oppression is never sustainable. Culturally, this story has become a symbol for every nation fighting injustice, from ancient rebellions to modern movements. Passover, thus, is not just a holiday but a proclamation that life, freedom, and justice will prevail. Why Passover is celebrated every year? Why does an event from thousands of years ago still bring families worldwide together each spring to eat unleavened bread and retell the Exodus story? The answer lies in Moses' command: "This day shall be a memorial for you. You shall keep it as a feast to the Lord throughout your generations, as a statute forever." Exodus 12 verse 14. But Passover is not just a ritual of obedience, it's a living journey, reenacted annually to engrave memory, educate generations, and inspire freedom globally. First, Passover is celebrated yearly to preserve collective memory. In Jewish culture, memory is not merely recalling but reliving the past in the present. Each Seder meal requires participants to see themselves as if they personally left Egypt, Mishnah Pesachim 10:5. This transforms Passover into a personal experience, where each person feels the weight of liberation. The memory of slavery and freedom reminds us that current blessings, from safety to liberty, are not given freely. They were paid for by the sacrifices of ancestors and God's protection. Annual observance ensures this story is never forgotten, even in times of prosperity or hardship. Second, Passover serves as an educational tool for future generations. During the Seder, children play a central role, asking the four Manishtana questions. Why is this night different from all other nights? These questions not only spark curiosity but open the door for adults to recount the Exodus, explaining the meaning of freedom, justice, and faith. The Haggadah, the text guiding the Seder, emphasizes, in every generation, a person must see themselves as if they personally came out of Egypt. Thus, Passover becomes a living classroom, where children learn not just history but the values shaping their community: gratitude, compassion, and the pursuit of justice. For example, in Jewish history, even during oppressive times under the Roman Empire or in World War II concentration camps, families secretly held Passover, using makeshift matzah to pass hope to their children. Third, Passover is celebrated to kindle timeless hope. The Exodus story is not just about escaping Egypt but about a journey toward the Promised Land. Though the Israelites wandered 40 years in the desert, Passover reminds us that every challenge has a destination. The Seder's closing words, "Next year in Jerusalem," are not just a longing for a homeland but a declaration of a future of peace and redemption. Historically, this phrase comforted Jews through exiles, from Babylon to medieval Europe. Today, it inspires people of all faiths to believe in a better world. Finally, Passover holds global significance, making it a source of inspiration for freedom movements worldwide. The story of a people overcoming oppression has echoed through the ages. In the 19th century, enslaved Americans sang, "Go Down, Moses," identifying their struggle with the Israelites. In the 20th century, Passover inspired the civil rights movement, with Martin Luther King Jr. likening himself to Moses. In South Africa, anti-apartheid activists drew hope from the Exodus. Celebrating Passover annually is not just a Jewish practice but a reminder that freedom is humanity's shared aspiration, and each generation must fight to preserve it. Rituals of Passover, symbols of freedom and hope. Passover is not just a story to tell but an experience to live, awakening every sense through the Seder, a ritual meal that brings the journey from slavery to freedom to life. Before the festival begins, Jewish families undertake a thorough spring cleaning, removing every trace of chametz, leavened foods made from wheat, barley, rye, oats, or spelt. This is not just a physical task but a spiritual act, purifying the home and soul, sweeping away the remnants of oppression to prepare for a journey of liberation. Every kitchen corner is searched, every crumb of bread burned, as if erasing the shackles of the past to welcome the light of freedom. The Seder, held on the first night or the first 2 nights of Passover, depending on customs in Israel or the diaspora, is the heart of the festival. The atmosphere is charged with sanctity as flickering candles are lit, casting a warm glow, and the Kiddush prayer is recited over the first cup of wine, sanctifying the day. On the table, a Seder plate is carefully arranged, holding 6 symbolic foods, each a chapter in the Exodus story. Karpas, a green vegetable like celery or parsley, is dipped in salt water, evoking the tears of slavery but also the fresh taste of spring, a symbol of hope and renewal. Karaset, a sweet mixture of apples, walnuts, wine, and cinnamon, represents the mortar used by enslaved Israelites to build pyramids, yet its sweetness hints at the joy of impending freedom. Maror, bitter herbs like horseradish, and chazaret, such as romaine lettuce, bring the sharp sting of oppression, allowing participants to taste the pain of their ancestors. A roasted shank bone, called zeroah, stands for the paschal lamb once sacrificed in the Jerusalem temple, a sign of divine protection. A boiled egg, baitza, speaks of life's cycle, renewal, and God's mercy. Finally, 3 pieces of matzah, unleavened bread, are stacked on the table, telling of the hasty departure from Egypt when the Israelites had no time to let their dough rise. A special cup of wine is poured and set aside for the prophet Elijah, believed to herald the Messiah's arrival, carrying hope for a world of peace. The Seder is guided by the Haggadah, an ancient text that directs the rituals, retelling the Exodus through prose, songs, and questions. One of the most memorable moments is when the youngest child at the table stands to ask the four Manishtana questions. Why is this night different from all other nights? Why do we eat only matzah? Why do we eat bitter herbs? Why do we recline? Why do we dip our food twice? These questions not only ignite children's curiosity but open the door for adults to recount the journey from slavery to freedom, explaining the significance of each ritual. For instance, matzah is called the bread of affliction, recalling slavery, but also the bread of freedom, baked in the rush of liberation. Reclining while eating symbolizes freedom, a stark contrast to the bowed posture of slaves. The Seder unfolds through 15 ritual steps, each carrying unique meaning, designed to immerse participants in the Exodus story. After the sanctifying blessing and first cup of wine, hands are washed, preparing to eat karpas dipped in salt water, tasting the salt of tears and the hope of spring. A piece of matzah is broken in half, the larger portion hidden as the afikomen, a secret treasure children will seek later, bringing laughter and excitement. The storytelling portion, called Majid, is the Seder's core, as the Haggadah guides everyone through the 10 plagues, the crossing of the Red Sea, and the song, Dayenu, a hymn of gratitude listing God's blessings to his people. Participants eat matzah and maror, then combine them in the Hillel sandwich, honoring the ancient Jewish scholar Hillel, who created this blend of bitter oppression and liberating matzah. The main meal, Shulchan Orech, is a time to savor traditional dishes like chicken soup with matzah balls, brisket, or stuffed fish, always imbued with the spirit of togetherness and gratitude. A highlight is when the afikomen is found and eaten, marking a joyful ritual for children but also symbolizing future redemption. The family then sings Hallel psalms, praising God's faithfulness, and drinks 2 more cups of wine, symbols of joy and blessing. A deeply moving moment is opening the door for Elijah, when everyone stands, leaves a door ajar, and gazes at the prophet's cup, hoping he will enter with tidings of peace. This ritual not only recalls the prophecy of the Messiah but stirs a longing for universal justice and freedom. The Seder concludes with the Nirtzah prayer, expressing the hope, next year in Jerusalem. A declaration of peace and redemption, not just for Jews but for all humanity. Today, Jewish families worldwide bring unique touches to the Seder, reflecting their cultural contexts. In America, some add an orange to the Seder plate, symbolizing inclusion and gender equality. In Israel, Mediterranean dishes like artichokes or grilled fish may grace the table. In Europe, Ashkenazi families might use horseradish for maror, while Sephardi Jews choose romaine lettuce. Despite differences, all share one goal: to revive the Exodus story, connecting people to the meaning of freedom and hope. These rituals are not mere traditions but bridges between past and future, reminding us that Passover is an ongoing journey, inviting each person to step out of their own Egypt. A surprising fact: impact beyond Judaism. You might think Passover is solely a Jewish holiday, but the astonishing truth is that it has shaped Christianity and global justice movements. In Christianity, Jesus is the Passover lamb, sacrificed during Passover week to redeem humanity. The Last Supper, a Seder, established the Eucharist, linking the two traditions. Moreover, Passover inspired freedom struggles, from the American slave song, Go Down, Moses, to the civil rights movement and anti-apartheid fight. Passover is not just one people's story but a flame of hope for all who yearn for justice. Passover is a festival of freedom, protection, and hope. It reminds us of divine love shielding like a mother bird and ignites a passion for justice. Celebrated annually, Passover preserves memory, educates generations, and inspires global freedom. As every Seder ends, next year in Jerusalem, a prayer for peace and a world where all are free.